4 team principals since 2007 and not a single driver's championship? Ferrari has won the driver's title 15 times, with the last one being back in 2007, thanks to Kimi Raikkonen in the last Scuderia Ferrari champion who set an unenviable record. And you have to wonder what went wrong after that. 15 consecutive years without a single driver's title. Is there any hope for the 2023 season given the changes they've made to their car? We're really going to have to wait and see. What's your opinion on what could have possibly gone wrong? Well, here's my opinion, since you asked, on what might be holding Ferrari back from claiming the much-needed championship. It's true that Ferrari bagged the 2008 Constructors' Championship, but that was against the backdrop of a scandal that threw McLaren into disarray. There's this aspect of leadership longevity. Red Bull's team principal Christian Horner has been in the hot seat since 2005, and Toto Wolff last month celebrated his 10th anniversary with Mercedes. Their team's achievement in that time are surely no coincidence in contrast to Ferrari's history of team principals. First, Stefano Domenicali was forced out of the team during the 2014 season, and then his successor, Marco Mattiacci, after less than a year. Mauricio Arrivabene after 4 seasons, and former team principal Mattia Binotto didn't even get to the 4th season. I honestly think that losing Binotto was a big blow to the team since he was the brain behind Ferrari's engine. Maybe Binotto shouldn't have left the team entirely. Instead, he would have taken up a different role, like the chief engineer role that he left vacant when he was promoted to the team principal. Thus, the primary task facing the new ex-Sauber team boss, Frédéric Vasseur, is to beat Ferrari's odds. Yet the final decision is not his to make. Which makes me wonder, what does Vasseur, a man steeped in motorsport and in Formula 1, but with smaller, less pressure-packed teams, need to do to stay the course for the period required to deliver Ferrari's first title in 15 years? Can he take the team back to its early 2000s glory years under the Jean Todt and the F1 legend Michael Schumacher? As one of Formula 1's most successful teams and indisputably the most famous, Ferrari has won more drivers and constructors' championships than any other team. The team started last year's season strong, but errors helped a dominant Red Bull pull away. Despite 12 pole positions more than any other team, Ferrari had only 4 victories, and none of these came in the second half of the year. It had begun the season with a strong 1-2 finish in the first race and with a win in the third, prompting the team's hopes that it would finally land its first title since 2008. Unfortunately, it fell short, finishing second in the Constructors' and Drivers' Championships. Ferrari had returned to competitiveness in 2022 after 2 lackluster seasons, but it was no match for Red Bull, which won both titles. "Considering how far we've come from last year, it's an amazing step forward," said Leclerc in 2022. "But obviously I can't ignore our middle part of the season, which has been super frustrating. We went from leading the championship with quite a bit of points to being behind by quite a bit of points," he added. Ferrari's downfall began in the middle stretch of the season. Leclerc had engine failures in Spain and Azerbaijan, poor strategy calls and confused radio communications in Monaco, England and Hungary, and his own error in France. All 6 races were winnable. But sadly, Ferrari didn't win any of them. Some divergent development strategies also affected Ferrari's chances of winning last season. Red Bull made a weight loss priority, whereas Ferrari did not. Instead, Ferrari ended up chasing aerodynamic gains. One effect of that was reduced tire wear. Since Red Bull reduced the weight, it aided the tire wear compared with Ferrari, which favored Red Bull. Another factor was that Ferrari had to turn down into smaller turbo at high altitudes, thus running at less power. For instance, in Mexico City, this suggests that Ferrari operates with smaller turbines than the rest. But the Maranello team can live with the weakness. Ferrari also halted its development program early because of Formula 1's new cost cap for the 2022 season. Ferrari's former team principal, Binotto, said that the team halted development work on their 2022 car because they reached the limit of spending imposed by Formula 1's budget cap. The restriction was introduced for the first time in 2021, and the cap was originally set at $145 million, but that was reduced to $140 million last year. Although the F175 was the fastest car, it didn't always convert its superiority into victories. Nobody doubts that Ferrari is the fastest car. Leclerc has 6 pole positions while Verstappen has 3. Even with this fact, Sainz described Red Bull and Verstappen as the quickest car and the quicker driver, and said that Ferrari will need to be perfect to catch them. Leclerc said winning the title must be the 2023 goal. It must. Despite the dominance in the 2022 season, Red Bull said that it would be foolish to ignore Ferrari. "They'll come back fighting hard next year. The higher you rise, the sharper the knives, they say. When you win 17 Grand Prix and do what we've done, you can understand that hurts our opponents, and I'm sure that they'll be even more motivated to become a challenger next year, said Horner. Red Bull seems to be keeping up their victory once again this year, and may be a little hard for Ferrari to stop them if they don't perfect their strategies. This season, Verstappen aims to become the 5th driver in Formula One history to win 3 drivers' championships on the bounce, while Red Bull looks to become the 6th member of the claim's 6 constructor titles. But can they do it? Mercedes is also not falling behind this season due to the car's DNA already being changed for the 2023 season. This potentially is a change that goes far beyond the side pod concept and instead covers the underlying architecture of the car, its suspension, and the underfloor. The team believes that by making these changes, they'll be able to return to championship contention. By the looks of things this year, you can tell that this season's going to be heated. I mean, it's going to be a show. But all isn't lost for Ferrari because this time there is a clear advantage for both the team and Vasseur because the team principal has a close relationship with Leclerc. For the 3rd time in his motorsport career, Leclerc has the Frenchman as his team boss. This year, they're again working together, this time at Ferrari. Vasseur believes their close relationship will benefit both of them. I've been following Charles since his karting days. After a period at Art and F3, he made his F1 debut with Sauber, so we've always been close. It's an advantage for me because I know him well, and it's an advantage for him too because he knows me well, Vasseur said. Although it's all well and good for Ferrari to go into the season without a number 1, should the team find themselves with a potential championship-winning car, Vasseur will have to make that call. After all, Red Bull already has. The Milton Keynes squad has a clear number 1, and that's Max Verstappen, their double world champion. If Ferrari wants to dethrone Red Bull, they're going to need a number 1 driver. One to pick up the big points while the other one serves as a sensational wingman. It's going to be a tough call when it comes, especially for the unflavored driver. But Formula One is a team sport, and the team has to come first, even when it comes to the individual championship. In my opinion, the current Scuderia Ferrari is Italo-centric. Aside from Frenchman Frédéric Vasseur, every top management member is staunchly Italian, and teamwork across all division appears to be lacking. Thus, in restructuring, Vasseur needs to recruit the best talent, not just the best Italian talent. Italian. It was hanging right there. I could not. Although, that won't be easy given the cap. I believe that Vasseur is a great leader who's going to adapt, remaining within the budget cap, and yet return to top performances in the final race. Vasseur is a man who came up with the ranks from race engineer through the junior series to F1 team principal and is well equipped to operate on extremely small budgets. Goes without saying that he can instill much needed discipline within Ferrari, which became bloated due to excessive spending last year. There is no doubt that Vasseur is going to manage to turn Ferrari around, and he'll go down as a hero in both Italy and his French homeland, as Tot did. To do so, Ferrari's top management has to allow him to do the job for which he was recruited with their full support, and crucially without interference. Some have suggested that under Vasseur, Ferrari will be devoted to Leclerc and make him its North Star, which would be bad news for its other driver, Carlos Sainz, who is almost out of contract at the end of 2024, and in this reality, would be cast as a clear number 2. But Vasseur was well aware of these speculations and pointed out how he highly regards Sainz as well. Another advantage for Vasseur is that Mattia Binotto played a big role in greatly reducing the fear culture on the team. Do you think Ferrari's going to win this year's season? Share your opinions with us in the comment section below. And if you like this video, hit that subscribe button for more F1 news. Adios.